chapter number 1. Welcome to chapter number 1, in which we will cover the executive summary, and under this we'll talk about vision, mission and the purpose. Let's talk about mission first. Business plan is a conceptual strategy where a business plan first comes into the mind. It's a concept, it is not in existence. So whenever a business plan is prepared, the concept has to be documented, and then later on a business overview has to be documented, where the kind of business that you are preparing a plan has to be documented. In the business plan, it is always advisable to include the market scenario, the changing scenario of the market. Market trend and tradition could change for various reasons. That could be political reason, it could be financial market, it could be government laws and regulation, and it could be the recent kind of situation that we have seen. Welcome to chapter number 2. In this chapter, we'll talk about the target market. The first subject which we'll be talking about in the target market is the product. The product shall be defined according to the demographic situation of the entrepreneur, where he or she would be launching the product or the service, and the demographic details are obtained under the exercise of research and market survey. The research could be done without getting in touch with the customers, whereas the survey is basically from the feedback from the customers. The customer's purchasing habit will be documented in the business plan. The habit of the customer will differ from various locations in which society they are living, the demographic location that they are staying, their educational and their economic situation under which they have grown up, and their family culture. Welcome to chapter 3 of the business plan. In this chapter, we'll talk about human resources. The kind of human resources and the type and nature of the profile what would be required to manage and operate a business enterprise. The first thing is prepare a team plan, and in the team what kind of different categories of human resources, human capital is required. The first one is management team. The second could be front office team, the third could be back office team, and the field staff. The management, they would be highly skilled and professionally qualified, and they could be experienced. They would be having the qualities of troubleshooting. They would be having the ability to set goals, motivate the staff to set their own goals, and help them reach their targets. Welcome to chapter 4. Let's know about the competitors and their behaviors. Mention about the definition of a competitor, that what is a competitor in a marketplace, what the competitor wants to do in the marketplace. Mostly the competitor wants to have more market share compared to the market share that the entrepreneur also wants to have in the market. There could be some competitors in the market who would be causing some damages, but there are very handful of competitors, and these competitors will never be able to sustain in the market for a longer time. While defining the competitors, it would be better to mention that an assessment of their weaknesses and the strength should be carried out and should be jotted down in the business plan. Welcome to Chapter 5. In Chapter 5, we talk about vendors, suppliers, and operations. The information will be in the form of beginning with a question whether you need any outside agency for conducting the business. In the business plan, provide solution after this question that mention about outside agency to assist the business enterprise to run the business or assist the entrepreneur to run the business. Another solution could be vendors would be supplying the goods to the enterprise. A vendor is an agency that would be owning the goods and would be supplying off the shelf or from the ready stock to the enterprise. Welcome to Chapter 6. In this chapter, we talk about financial projection and how much fund is required to run the business. In order to run the business, there are two types of expenses which are to be taken care of in the business. One are one-time business or periodical business. The other are ongoing expenses. The ongoing expenses would be rental expenses, salaries, and other overhead expenses on day-to-day basis. Periodical expenses would be maintenance, repairing, and other expenses which are not regularly required, but they could be once in a year or once in 6 months. Periodical expenses also would be license fees and other expenses. Periodical expenses also could be license fees